The Habs and Isles are both trending downwards, but which team has light at the end of the tunnel? And are the Washington Capitals actually good? Hey everyone, welcome into Off the Post. Rob Wong joined alongside by Steve Simmons and Bruce Garrioch. And guys, there was a time when you couldn't talk about the top organizations in the NHL without mentioning the Montreal Canadiens and New York Islanders. But as it stands right now, they are two franchises closer to the bottom than the top. Both teams, though, have appeared in the playoffs recently, but not sure anyone would confuse either team with cup contenders at the moment. Steve, out of the two teams, which do you think has a higher chance of turning it around in your mind?
I think Montreal does. And saying that in Toronto could get me shot. But they have a lot of young guys that have promise. They have a bunch of blue liners that you look at and you say, they have a chance to be pretty good NHL players. And they have up front Caulfield and Suzuki to start with, and I like those two guys. And so there are pieces there. I think they should be a better team by now than they are. They don't seem to be getting better, and I don't really understand why. But they do have, if you look at the roster, there's 5 or 6 kind of nice pieces, and I'm not sure that I can say the same for the Islanders.
Well, and I think you're right in that it seems to me that the Montreal Canadiens guys are on some kind of path here. And I think they're on a path towards respectability. And you look at the work that Jeff Gorton and Kent Hughes have done. I think you look at the Montreal roster and you see the pieces that they have with Suzuki and Caulfield, and it feels like Montembeault in nets is finding his way. The possibility exists there that group will take the next step. I look at the New York Islanders guys and I say, Lou Lamoriello hasn't built a Stanley Cup champion in an awful long time. And he's far removed from his days with the New Jersey Devils. He's kind of kept that organization's head above water with the Islanders. He brought in a great coach in Patrick Roy. And I think that's the only difference in this situation is the coaching. I think that Patrick Roy is a far better coach than Martin St. Louis. And I think that, Martin St. Louis may have reached his best before date behind that Montreal bench. And it might be time to bring in someone else to help them take that next step.
Well, I want to touch on Lamoriello for a minute because I have long been a great admirer of him and his work. And you look at the 3 cup championships, and I think he had an important role in the building of the Maple Leafs when he came to Toronto. I get the impression now that he's kind of stuck in quicksand and that the team isn't getting better and it's not getting worse and it's kind of just there. And there's a certain stubbornness to how he does his job. And I think it's almost time for the owners of that team to look in another direction. There's no stars on that Islanders team, but there's a lot of good professional major league players. Guys, the 3 or 4 defensemen, I think, on that team are pretty darn good. And they've got, 4 or 5 forwards that are credible NHL forwards and a goalie, a good goalie. And so there are parts there. But I think Lou's stubbornness now is kind of kept them in this quicksand, and I'm not sure how they get out of it.
Yeah, tough spot right now that the Islanders are in the Metropolitan Division. Pretty competitive right now. We talked about the Penguins last week and how we have really no faith in them, and I think we all felt the same about the Capitals prior to the season. But Bruce, here they are, 8-3 to begin the season with a +13 goal differential. Are you buying the Capitals' start to the season?
I am, and only because they've won a Stanley Cup in recent history, and they still have some of that roster together. They've got Alex Ovechkin. They've got star players. Am I convinced about their goaltending? Do I think that, Lindgren and Logan Thompson are going to carry them to the playoffs on their back? I don't know. But I do believe that what we've seen out of the Washington Capitals, and you would know them better than me, I think, and sometimes I give coaches too much credit, but I read something recently, Steve, that Spencer Carberry has done an excellent job with that group in Washington and getting them to buy in. And they also picked up Jacob Chikrin from the Ottawa Senators in the offseason. And I think that was a good move for them. You know, they've got some guys who've got that experience. And one thing we know about them, Rob, is they know how to get to the playoffs. And I don't think players ever forget that.
Well, there's one star there that's above everyone else and has been for years and years and years, and that's Alexander Ovechkin, who's back scoring again. But while you were speaking, Bruce, I wrote down a name before you said something, and the name was Spencer Carbery, the coach of the Capitals. If there's a star emerging in that organization and on that team and around the league, it's him. Who's the great next coach? Who's the great, who's going to be John Cooper? Who's going to be Mike Sullivan? Who's going to be that guy of the next generation? Right now, to me, it's looking like it's Spencer Carbery. He got that team that looked so lost into the playoffs last year, and I still haven't figured out how he did that. And I looked at them at the beginning of this year, and I thought, there's no chance this is a playoff team. And here they are off to an amazing start. Someone has to organize all that. God bless players. They just play. They're told where to go and what to do and how to do it. And they got a guy there, Connor McMichael, who thinks he's Connor McDavid. Like, it's pretty crazy what's going on with the Washington Capitals right now. I don't know if it can last. I don't know if they're going to make the playoffs, but I'm so impressed with what Spencer Carbery has done with this hockey club.
Yeah, it's been a great start to the season for the Capitals, and Carbery getting a lot of early Jack Adams talk right now, so we'll see if he can sustain that with the Caps this season. As always, leave your thoughts in the comments section below. For Steve Simmons, Bruce Garrioch, I'm Rob Wong. Thanks for watching, and we'll talk to you next time.